I'll say this again, authenticity and creativity rules over production quality any day. Today's key question is when to refrain from buying a new piece of equipment. This video we will talk about key mindsets into going about purchasing a new equipment, deciding whether it is worthwhile for your arsenal or whether it's just purely impulsive, and you will probably regret later on. Now you're probably thinking, maybe you have experienced something similar. So let's get into it. We just finished the shoot today and it was pretty smooth, kind of rushed, but we managed to do it pretty well. So this is just kind of a remnant of the shoot. Kind of messy, but I decided why not just use this as a set for the next video. Just record some Q&A, you know. So what is the topic today? We didn't go straight into it. Lights on. Welcome everyone back to the channel. This is Q&A number 3, talking about gears. And if you are new here, my name is Gabriel Leung. I am all about sharing insights and experience about photography to help you to have a better eye for photography, to improve your work, your experience with whatever gear you have. Okay, so today's topic is kind of controversial, and it is mainly because I just want to talk about gear so that we don't have to talk about it in the future. It's something that I'm particularly not interested in, and I'm so not into the kind of technicality, the kind of the science and the engineering of these kind of camera equipments, what kind of new features is out there, and particularly like even within production, like I'm not particularly into that kind of stuff. People might not even click on this video because I'm thinking like, okay, so maybe I can just rant about whatever I want. Let's talk about the right and wrong mindset. As earlier I just spoke about, we finished a shoot today, and guess what camera we were using? Today we were using a 5DS, a camera that was probably out in 2015, if I remember correctly. And then some behind the scenes video B-rolls shot on a tiny little guy, the Sony RX100 Mark V. I even have to look at the label. I don't remember these model numbers. This was out in 2016. I mean, we're shooting in 2021, the end of 2021. Still using these for proper work and jobs. So YouTube, to be honest, is saturated with camera reviews, is saturated with comparison videos, and they are just super helpful for any kind of decision making, very informative, help me a lot when I do go and decide on a purchase. But at the same time, I just felt like there's some kind of urge inside me that is also wanting to share and hopefully not really educate, but just to tell people it's okay not to be tempted to buy anything after watching these videos, because there are just tons and tons and tons. Now when it comes to YouTube videos on particular gear reviews and comparisons, there's just a little bit more to it than you might think when you look and just so focus on that particular item. Is that when something is out, the demand is high, but the supply is short. So YouTubers do tend to jump onto racing to get a review video out, because the algorithm just kind of shows it to everyone, and it kind of boosts the ranking a little higher. At the same time, sometimes YouTubers are actually sponsored by a particular brand. They are kind of like an ambassador, sharing their experience, not particularly biased. They just tell the pros and cons about it, and they are kind of sponsored by it, so it's part of the deal. And another part is because all these things just kind of work along with their creative process. It really is something that they do and they use day to day. So it's genuine opinion by them, So I'm not saying that these are any kind of bad criticism. And the third reason is because also there are affiliated links down at the bottom of the description so that you can go and purchase the same item with a little bit of percentage going back to them, which supports their channel. It is a lot of hard work making videos like that. So just a bit more to it than you think. Now, nothing bad about it, not to demonize anyone. And I just felt like my urge is that I want to help people to kind of resist if they really don't need that piece of equipment, because you will regret down the line. If you're super rich and just don't really care about producing more electronic waste for the planet, then this video is not for you. But if you're thinking, maybe I've been there, I've bought stuff that I regretted that wasn't useful after 1 year or 2 or even like just half a year, and I want to be a better purchaser and just decide on getting better equipment for my collection. I don't need everything, I just need the things that I want. And what do I want? A lot of people just don't know. What is their creative process? What will actually become a better fuel for them to go in a longer journey along the kind of creative marathon in the future? You know, this is a journey, and buying what equipment as a kind of supportive element into your creative journey is very important, and I think is a very healthy way of looking at it. We're gonna go through 3 points, just 3 points to check on yourselves when it comes to making a new purchase. Okay, so wrong mindset number 1. Buying this will improve my work. Well, it kind of does in terms of the option department. You do have more option because you have a new piece of equipment. But if you think that buying this new piece of equipment will make my work more creative, that's a big no, because a piece of hardware is a piece of hardware. Creativity is a soft skill utilizing a particular hardware to its full creative potential. So in other words, is that buying something new only gives you the option of being more creative. You have to really think about, does that really help your work creatively? It does not equal to that. If you give 2 eggs to your friend, say, make me a sunny side up breakfast for the day, it's gonna be pretty normal. But if you give 2 eggs to a Michelin chef, he's gonna make you something, or she's gonna make you something that you have never imagined. And that's the difference, really. They're given the same hardware, the same ingredients. What is the right mindset? Let's look at this. So the number 1 right mindset is to ask yourself, have you maximized the full potential of what you already own? The piece of camera, the lens, the light, whatever you own, even the phone, have you maximized the full potential? What does that really mean? It means that have you used the hardware and integrating your creativity together with it fully, using all the functions, all the possibility, all the quality that it brings into your creative work. Have you done that yet? And are there any kind of things that you haven't really explored, you haven't really experimented, you haven't really given it a thought or even try and compare? If you haven't done that, try and do that now before you buy something new, because most of the time, if you haven't, you might regret that piece of new purchase. Do not allow yourself to buy whatever comes out because you just wanted it. Every camera makers, any camera advertisement, they are selling a new function. It's like they're opening a new door like never before. That's gonna change your game. And that's a pretty false and deceptive kind of idea planting into people's head. Because, it's still a company. If you go into their office, they're gonna have a whiteboard with a target on the board. And every month, if they do meet that target, they're gonna go and celebrate. And the next morning they come in, they're gonna see that target raised to 5 or 10%. It's pretty normal. The target doesn't stay. They're gonna reach the target and they're gonna keep adding Cameras are sometimes rushed to push out of the market every year, annually, quarterly, monthly. There are smaller gadgets that comes out monthly. There are reasons for that. Do you have to buy all of them? No, you don't. Which one to buy? This is the biggest question, right? So, but just having the right mindset, have you used them and maximized the full potential of what you already own? And do you really need that? Ask that question to yourself. We live in a time that couldn't be any better to be a photographer, given all the equipment that's become so powerful, the quality of images that it produces, and also the affordability, the sizes, the convenience, all these kind of things, making being a photographer or videographer or filmmaker so quote unquote easy in some sense compared to years before us. Not even just talking analog, we're talking about like wet prints and all that, alternative process. This is an age and such a privilege to be a photographer. So ask yourself, are you looking to buy that piece of equipment to change your game? Are you just looking for some kind of shortcut to be more creative? Because it is a journey after all. Photography is a creative journey, and the journey is the joy, not the destination. If you just take some shortcuts to get to it, I'm not saying that buying that will really shortcut you to the destination, but it's kind of a motive to do that. So forget about the destination, just focus on the journey. Wrong mindset number 2. Buying this will give me that professional look. The professional look of a professional photographer, that poster, that YouTuber. I'm gonna buy this camera so that I can shoot like Nick Knight, I can shoot like Peter McKinnon, I can make images like these celebrity photographers. No, you can. You have the potential. Buying this doesn't really translate to that. It's a false fantasy. I never felt compelled when I see a Canon, a Nikon, a Sony, a Leica, a Hasselblad ad. Never moved me in any way whatsoever. They are all good, high quality images. I just don't feel relatable to them because that's me. Every person is different. It's subjective. Right mindset number 2. Quality is overrated. Production quality, especially, is only a part of what we call industry standard. So the right mindset number 2 is knowing production quality is only a part of what we call industry standard. A lot of times you look at YouTubers or any kind of gear reviews, and they really just focus on the kind of potential of what the camera can do, how fast it shoots, how the lens perform. It's all about performance. Are we into being a performer when we get ourselves into being a photographer or a videographer, a filmmaker? Are we trying just to perform? I never thought of myself as a performer. The truth is, authenticity and creativity rules over production quality any day. I'll say this again, authenticity and creativity rules over production quality any day. Think about Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, things that goes viral. They are usually either pretty short, pretty quick, pretty digestible. They are also pretty raw, pretty real, pretty relatable. So it's not always the most production quality video, images, whatever visuals you have, speaks the loudest, because they are also creating distance from the viewer's daily life. So think about that. I would challenge you to spend more brain time thinking about why and how to shoot something, rather than what lens to use, what settings next to pictures on Instagram, on whatever book. I mean, they are important for beginners when you're learning just how shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, how these kind of things work. It's fine. But do you really care about it when you take pictures with your iPhone or with your Android phone? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really tell you. It doesn't even have the option. So when you're going to take pictures of something, or you have some sort of assignment, or you just kind of obligation to shoot something. Spend more time with your brain exercise. Think ahead of the reason behind shooting that and why and how to go about it. And just allocate enough time to do the actual shooting, the production time. So it's pretty simple to me. If you don't spend that time thinking about it, you have no idea what is good and what is bad. You only judge good and bad by industry standard. And industry standard is just a passing mark if you ask me. The industry is led by authenticity and creativity. Now there is a particular standard in terms of production quality. At least it's not pixelated, at least it's printed correctly, at least it's the colors printed on the page is not smudged, that kind of thing. There is a kind of basic industry standard, but once you've met that, it's all about the other side of the spectrum. So the industry is not led by production quality, it's led by authenticity and creativity. And so if you want to aim high, and even if you're shooting a wedding or some family photos for your friends, if you want to aim high, look at that particular area of photography. Think about, first of all, how can you get to that standard? And the second point is to how do you go beyond that standard? It's a lot of thinking more than a lot of doing. Okay, this is a good one. You ready? Wrong mindset number 3. Owning this will make me look more legit and get me better clients. Whoa, have you ever been there? I know people have been there. I know ex-colleagues, people who I've worked with has been there. And legitimacy can never be bought. Legitimacy has to be proven by your work, your quality work, your creative work, your authentic attention to detail, your good customer service, and just your whole kind of responsibility owning that particular project and making it good from start to finish. That's what will buy you legitimacy, not the piece of equipment. I believe Picasso uses paintbrushes that's not so different than what is available today. Clients doesn't care about your gears, your photo friends do. And if you have a client who really cares about your gear, that's a pretty bad sign. And if you even try to prove and convince them that you are legit by that piece of hardware holding in your hand, that's even worse. Okay, so don't try to prove that you're legit with that piece of new equipment, which costs you a lot of money. I am happily using my 5D Mark II on some projects, even nowadays. That's talking about 2009, maybe, a camera that was out. I am gladly sharing photos taken on the day to see, look at all of these great photos, with the client. They're fine. Usually small projects, but it's still pretty good. It's a decent camera. So legitimacy is not bought. Legitimacy has to be proven by your own work. Right mindset, point number 3. The only time that I would suggest when to buy is that buying this piece of new equipment will open up new doors for me and new functions that my cameras or my gears does not already have. And this new door, this new opportunity, this new ability is aligned with my development, the direction that I want to go towards into the future. So when my interest, development, and my business is growing in a direction where this new piece of equipment and the ability it brings will be a strong addition to my collection, I would consider it a buy, given that it's something that I can afford and in considering it as a reasonable investment. So then the follow-up question is now when to buy it. Well, you either have already saved up enough because you don't just go keep on buying new equipment. So that's what I do. I keep saving until there's something that I think is worthwhile to buy. So I don't just go and spend a lot of money on small additions. Or alternatively is that I wait for a particular project that has the particular need for using that new piece of equipment with that ability. It opens up the door where I can put a particular ability into the art direction, saying that this particular part of the project might have to be presented this way, and I'm thinking if I buy that piece of equipment, it will be able to complete that task. So it's kind of a win-win situation because I also look at the quotation, the photo estimate, and just kind of covers the equipment itself. So I mean, if you look at it, it's like that project doesn't make as much money, but at the same time it pays for the equipment, which is an investment for myself. Kills two birds with one stone. When I used to teach at an art school, there was one particular student who was pretty well off, and he usually quite reliant on equipments, the best, the newest equipments that his peers cannot own because they just purely cannot afford it. And every assignment, I would ask all the students to have an artist statement because it is a way to articulate their concept, the concepts behind, the ideas behind all the photos. If they're doing a series, for example, what kind of thinking and articulating that into words. And what I find is that for a very equipment-based project, the articulation is pretty ambiguous, pretty vague. He probably has a tougher time to articulate it because the project was actually driven by a particular new function that the equipment brings to the table, and that reliance actually suffers the creative. It suffers the smooth transition from a pure concept and pure personal expression-driven motive to go the reverse and opposite way. So I would just suggest focus on your work. Down the line, nobody cares about what gear you use. It's the work that matters, period. So remember, for whatever reason you're enjoying experimenting or just working with this medium called photography, the most important thing people look at is your work. No matter you're shooting the street, you're shooting landscape, you're shooting people, your cat, produce good work and people will resonate. Your portfolio is all that matters. Now, if you're interested to talk a bit more about portfolio, leave a comment down below and let me know. Maybe I'll do a video in the future. Anyhow, I hope this shines some light on the psychology behind new gear impulse buying. Hopefully save some of your pocket money and just gain more clarity into when to have faith to make your next best investment on a new piece of gear. Comment down below to let me know what is your takeaway from this video. You'll be surprised, your problem, your questions, your doubts are not alone out there. There are tons of people having the same doubts too. If you have found value in this video, help me out and hit like, subscribe, hit the bell button and be the first to watch my fresh new contents on questions photographers might have, me providing new answers, and visual language and photography, my main playlist, helping everyone to have a better eye for photos. So that's it for now. Enough of gear talk. Get me out of here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.